Yo, what's going on, you guys? This is All Day Day 1, and I'm going to be giving you guys another Wayfinder build video. So, it's been a while since I had actually played Wayfinder for a while. I haven't played the 1.0 version, but they've done some pretty nice updates with this. So, I'll just go run through some of the things that I noticed that are pretty cool. So, for example, one thing they added was the find party system. So when you go into this, you can see, oh, I guess there's not that many people on right now. But yesterday I noticed that it was like a full page of people playing the game, and I was like, wait, this is pretty nice. Because you can see it in the main menu. When you log in, you can see um, find party, and then you can just click on this, and then you can hit join random, which I thought is pretty cool. Another thing that I noticed that was really nice, because I was checking to see if they made the difficulty matter. Unfortunately, the difficulty still does not matter in terms of loot and drops and whatever else. It's still all the same. So it doesn't matter what difficulty you play on. But what is a nice addition is the world scaling. So with the way the world scaling works, I mean it works the way it says. It scales your world. So if you are a level 30 wayfind, if your wayfind is level 30 and you go into the open world and you kill something, you get an echo drop, it's going to be a level 30 drop. So it's such a huge quality of life in terms of farming for um, your builds and stuff, because now you can like potentially hit harder and have more defense and whatever. Like you don't have to worry about using low level echoes. Obviously, there's going to be some echoes in some dungeons and boss fights where it this doesn't um, work in, I guess, but not dungeons, because the dungeons, I guess, are considered lost zones. But boss fights with those echoes, they won't be catered to the world scaling still. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and go into the builds. So I'm gonna go through each character except for Silo, because unfortunately my Silos is still not well geared, and I do not want to make a build for him. Don't really care to play him too much. Um, Maybe eventually in the future, if I ever decide to really play again seriously, I guess then I would. But for now, it's just not on my list. But I am going to go through every other character, but I'm not going to show really gameplay because it is going to be kind of a long video, sort of. At least I hope it's not. I will have timestamps of each different Wayfinder as well, just in case you guys are like, you know what, I don't want to watch Nyss, I don't want to watch Kyros, I want to watch Grendel's build real quick. And just to be fair, the only characters I have that are completely min-maxed is my Nyss, my Kyros, and my Venomess. Everybody else still isn't like more than 1 to 2 stars. Some of them don't have any stars, but I do have the echoes I want for them. But some of them do have missing echo slots as well. So just take that with a grain of salt. But they can still do boss fights very easily within like 40 seconds, depending on the bosses, I guess, and depends if you're solo or not. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and get into it. All right. So for Nyss, I'm gonna go well just for every character in general. I'm gonna go over the armor, the weapon, the accessories, and then I'm just gonna go into echoes, abilities, affinity, and talents, and then we'll switch the character, and also the stats that you probably want to shoot for. So for my armor set, as you can see, I haven't played in a while, so I don't have every piece found, as well as not really caring too much to find all of them. But I'm pretty content with what I have because it does give me a large portion of my ability power. So I have the unhollowed helmet, chest, and gloves. The chest, I don't really like this, and I'm hoping if I do find either the Scorn, Fellhunter, or Forlorn, they have ability power on it, because if they do, then that's what I would use. But aside from that, I'm fine with using Unhollowed Mask because it has ability power and magic defense, and the Unhollowed Gear has ability power resilience. If the others that I'm missing have those, and they'll obviously be at a higher level, especially if it's a Scorn, then I would recommend using those. And then I have the Scorn Belt, which gives me 12% ability power and 6% crit power. And then the Fell Hunter Pants, which gives me 9.33% ability power and 4.67% crit rate. So your ability power is pretty much what you need the most. And then you want to have your crit rating. And obviously you want to have some magic defense. Like, your magic defense is not super important. You can still reach 20,000 ability power without having over 5,000 magic defense. Like, basically it's like you get like 10 AP for every 1,000 magic defense or whatever it is. It's really not a lot, but it is something. Now, for your weapons, the reason why I'm using Rose and Thorn is because of the stats that it gives me. So in my first stat, whatever you want to call this, let me see, what is that called? Instinct, Discipline, Focus. So in Instinct, it gives me max health ability, and then Instinct, Discipline, right? Yeah, Discipline, Focus. So in the Discipline, it gives crit power, magic defense, and then Focus, it gives weapon power and crit rating. So the stats you want mainly on your weapon is going to be ability power, and then crit rating and crit power. So having those three are going to be your bread and butter for your damage output. And then having that extra bit of magic defense is a little bit nice for your ability power. And then having weapon power, max health is whatever. Like, you sometimes you still hit with your weapon, so it's okay. And then max health is just max health. It's just a bigger health pool. Now for your accessories, there's two sets of accessories you can technically go for. So I'm just going to tell you the one that I have on Nyss, and then the other one I have on Kyros. But I'm using the Secrets of the Past set. So I'm pretty sure on my previous Nyss build video I explained where to get these. I don't exactly remember where I got these though right now, because again I haven't played for a while. But these are going to be the ones you want to have: the Seal of Eternity, Amulet of the Silver Codex, and Book of Names. It's very nice because it gives you ability power, magic defense, and break power. Now, the other set that I have on Kyros is also really good because it has ability power and I think crit rate or crit power and max health or something. But this is really nice because, I mean, having a little bit of break power is pretty nice to have, even though I don't really have much invested into it at all. And then again, having some magic defense is nice because it also invests into your ability power. Now, So now for my echoes, the echoes is going to be, I need a farm for some new ones like my Ember Shoal. Actually, I don't know if I can get a new one. Well, yeah, I think I can. But yeah, you're gonna need to start farming for new ones if you haven't. If you just also re-downloaded the game. But yeah, like for example, a lot of them you can get from the open world now, and have them drop at level 30. So that's why I need to farm for new ones. But all of my echoes are maxed out. So I have the Codex Sage, which has ability power crit rating, Deceiver, Ice Lancer, Mythic Truth, Call of Wool, Worm, Talon of Pyre, Malefic Maw, and Equilibrium. Equilibrium is very nice, although it doesn't like affect your damage. It's nice to have because you're always going to be dodging with Nyss, so having the extra stamina is super nice to have. And then you have Hollow Husk, Tiding, Talon, Dire Prophecy, Fallen Greedlord, Mythic the First, Frostbeak, Archon Commander, Oracle, Glitter Greed, Pouncer, and Embered Shoal. So everything pretty much benefits towards, again, my ability power. Now for my abilities, I have Umbral Aura with only at level 1. You don't need it at 2 or 3. 2 is nice to have, but that's just because it allows your Umbral Aura to do even more damage past the enemy's. Piercing basically counts as if it's dealing damage past the enemy's resilience. That's why having break power is not important as much for Nyss, because you basically deal damage past the resilience threshold. And then you have Shadow Step. I have that maxed out because you want to do more damage with Shadow Step. Shadow Step is like your main damage output. And then you have Vengeful Shade. you want to have this maxed out because having it maxed out, and then when you trigger Vengeful Shade and then use a light or a heavy attack, whatever you want to do, it'll give you your Shadow Step back. So technically, like the rotation would be use one Shadow Step and then proc Umbral Aura, dodge, Shadow Step, dodge, and then Vengeful Shade, or not Vengeful Shade, you use a second Shadow Step. So Shadow Step, Umbral Aura, Shadow Step twice with a dodge in between because you want to proc the Umbral Aura, and then after that you want to proc Vengeful Shade, light attack with it with that animation, so it gives you 2 of your Shadow Steps back, and then you just go through that rotation again. Obviously you might not have Umbral Aura back in time, so you just use both of your Shadow Steps, and then if you have Umbral Aura up, proc that, dodge, Shadow Step, and then just rinse and repeat. And then, just for those of you that don't know, Lingering Shadow is also pretty important. After you dodge, you gain ability power for 5 seconds, which stacks up 3 times. So dodging 3 times is going to give you, I think they said it's 10% ability power. It's an additive amount, it's not a multiplier, but you get a 10% of your base AP increase, which is going to be nice, like a 30% AP increase in total. Next is my affinity. So I am 25 instinct, 16 discipline, and 0 focus. So I think this is different from my past video. I'm not entirely sure, but instinct is important because all the damage you deal is going to be increased by 10% for 6 seconds after the enemy has been hit from your Shadow Step's follow-up attack. So that's the second hit from Shadow Step. So you hit them with Shadow Step, and then the shadow that's the clone, once it hits them, that enemy takes 10% multiplicative damage increase for 6 seconds. The reason I say this is better than improved piercing shadows, although improved piercing shadows is nice, because in total you're getting a 20%, basically like a 20% resilience. You're ignoring 20% of the resilience to deal true damage to their health. You don't really need that 10% increase because in full essence, it's just an additive bonus. You're just, in a sense, it's like an additive bonus to damage because you're just ignoring the resilience, which is a damage reduction. But with this, you're just getting an actual 10% multiplier, which is overall all your damage output too. And it doesn't matter about the resilience. And obviously, if the resilience of the enemy is broken, which you're not going to break by yourself, if you're in a group and if you have a Grendel on your team, they have a break build, then you're going to just kill the bosses pretty quick, especially when the resilience is broken, especially when you have this, I mean. And then next is going to be the talents. So this is probably what you guys have been wanting the most, because I know with the update you can't have 2 prime nodes anymore. So we are sticking with wave function collapse. It's a lot better because, again, this is just it's just an additive bonus. It looks good on paper. I'm not gonna lie. Like, having like 70,000 ability power looks amazing. It looks so good. But this is just such a stronger prime node to have for Nyss. Well, not just Nyss, but Kyros too. But you're gonna just go ahead and go straight down to get Bountiful Innervation, and then once you've done that, you're gonna have 1 point left over, but don't worry about putting it there yet. And then after you do that, you're gonna go ahead and go straight up to Probability Density, and then you're gonna take your left and go up to Quickening Innervation. Once you've done that, you're going to go ahead and head down to these 3 nodes. You need to collect all 3 of them so that way you get the ×2 bonus for them. And then you're just going to work your way up and get wave function collapse. And then you should have 2 points left. So with those 2 points, or 3 points, you'll put 1 here for the cooldown, another here for cooldown, and then you can just put 1 here for the ability power as well. So that's how I did this setup. Again, if you wanted to go with this, you could, but I just don't after testing, like I just did not see the use of having it. And the thing is, it says when stacks reach 100, it's not like you're building your stacks up by ones. You're building your stacks up by 20, which is fast. Like you're getting these buffs quick. And if you play in a group, if you play with one other person, you're going to be giving them these different random buffs as well. And let's say you had two Nisses, or you have a Nyss and a Kyros, or you have other quote unquote magic type Wayfinders that are using wave function collapse. You can essentially have stacks of these different buffs active for you and your allies, which is also pretty cool. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So as you can see, you want to prioritize ability power, shoot for 20,000 ability power, and then crit rating. I mean, you can try to shoot for like 5,000 or 6,000, and then everything else is just on you. But yeah, I would definitely say go for minimum 20,000 ability power if you want to do a solid amount of damage and get quick kills. Obviously, you're going to be pretty low on your survivability, but that's just more of a skill thing, I guess. Um, yeah, most of my builds are not built for defense. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and go to the next class, which is going to be Kyros. Alright, so now with Kyros, you can see his abilities are pretty identical with, not abilities, but his stats are going to be pretty identical with Nyss. Just completely focused on ability power. He has slightly more crit rating and crit power, and that's probably because of his accessories. As you can see, his magic defense is a lot lower though. But we're going to go ahead and look at the armor sets. So I have almost all of his Fathomless sets pieces and all of the Far Traveler. But yeah, so with his Fathomless base, yeah, I went with this because it has crit power on it. And I'm assuming Anathema might have ability power. If it does, then I would probably just use that instead. And then I'm using the Fathomless gloves because it has ability power on it, and Fathomless cover because of the ability power. Pretty much anything that's at a higher is always generally going to be at a higher percentage. And then Far Traveler hat has ability power, break power is whatever. You don't really need it, although it is nice to have. And then Far Traveler belt for the ability power, and the Far Traveler. Oh wait, no, I'm not using any of these. My bad. But yeah, that's pretty much it for his sets, and you can see that his armor or his ability power is pretty close to Nyss's as well in that percentage. Again, the weapon it's the same as Nyss. It's my maxed out weapon because I like the stats on it. I just prefer it. I know that the other really good option is I think it was Tooth and Tooth and Claw is also a really good option because again you get crit power, ability power, crit rating, just very good options. And the weapon itself is also really good, especially for Kyros. I haven't used it as much, but I do know that there are people that do use it, and it just does an insane amount of damage. Don't know exactly why. I forgot the reason, but all I know is Tooth and Claw is highly, highly, highly recommended for Kyros users. So mine's just not. I just don't have any stars on it, so I haven't really used it or bothered using it. But yeah, I would highly recommend going for Tooth and Claw if you're going for a Kyros. Now, for the accessories, I'm using the Myth of the Primals. So Primordial Ring, Primordial Amulet, and Primordial Myth. And then the reason exactly why is the ability power and crit rating and max health being increased by 10%. So this was the other set I was talking about that is a really good set to have um, for Nyss if you wanted to do this instead of going with the other set. And honestly, I would probably recommend it because crit rating is very, very strong to have. Like the more crits you have, the more damage you can do. So as you can see, the Primordial Ring is going to have max health, crit rating, and ability power. And then Primordial Myth is going to have crit rating, ability power, break power. Primordial Amulet is going to have crit rating, ability power, resilience. Now the only issue is if you do end up using this set for Nyss, all the ability power is going to kind of be hit pretty hard, because I think a lot of the sets, I don't remember exactly, I could just look back, but I'm not going to. But I'm pretty sure some of the ability power is on here on this side. But yeah. But anyways, I mean, I think it's still a really good option to have on this, regardless. It's just a strong set to have for ability power and crits. Now, for the echoes, I have Pouncer, Oracle, Ice Lancer, Ember Shoal, Archon Commander, Deadeye Shrike, and then Talon of Pyre, Fallen Greed Lord, and Mythic Dread Legion. A lot of this is going to be pretty similar to Nyss. Then I have Codex Sage, Mythic Truth, Hollowed Husk, Glitter Greed, the First, or Mythic the First, Malefic Maw, Tiding, Carl Vull, Goblin Seer, Talon, Willow Witch, and Dire Prophecy. Abilities, I just went 2 in Siphon Radiance. I don't know why I'm doing that. Oh, no, I forgot to respec this because I was doing I was testing out, before I stopped playing, I was testing out an ultimate build or a Siphon build and just trying to spam out my ultimate as well, just so I can get more arcane fragments. Do this and that as well. So this is the ideal setup you're going to go with because you want your enemies to take a 10% multiplicative damage increase. Obviously before, it used to be like a 500%, and I kind of miss those days. But the 10% increase, regardless, is better than none. Now, technically, you still could go with the 2 points in Hand of Reckoning, and instead of putting the 1 point in Arcane Focus and the last point in Siphon Radiant, you could go with Hand of Reckoning with 2 points if you wanted to build up more arcane fragments. That's an option. When it's still a pretty strong option as well. But this, if you're going to focus on rakes and you just want the most burst damage output, then having the Siphon Radiant maxed out with Arcane Focus with 1 point because of that explosion, and obviously you need Savage Rakes maxed because the heal is just insane. The damage is pretty much uncompetable, I guess I could say. Now for your affinity, I have 1 point in Instinct, 25 in Discipline, 15 in Focus. So the 1 point in Instinct, you could just put it in Focus if you wanted, or just leave it in Instinct. It's up to you. The reason why I did this is because you want to have Vicious Recovery. So whenever you have max Arcane Fragments, which you generally will, it's going to give you faster cooldowns for all of your abilities. Pretty much all of your abilities, except for Savage Rake, obviously. And then you want to have the 15 points on Focus, so you can have 3 more Arcane Fragments versus just only up to 2. So you can have 5 instead of 2. And that's a lot more damage and a lot more defense. Because having 5 means you're going to have 15% damage reduction taken to you, as well as a 25. Oh no, that's stacking up to 3 regardless anyways. But yeah, you're going to get more defense, and then you'll also get more damage output. Obviously, this might mean this takes a little longer to build up sometimes because you're not going to be at max, but that's okay. Because the more arcane fragments you have, the more rakes you can do as well. Now for your talent trees, pretty identical to this. So I just went straight down and got Bountiful Innervation, went straight up, got Probability Density, went over, went up, Quickening Innervation, and then the same route went all the way here, got Wave Function Collapse, went down, got this little triangle, and then went down and got Temporal Coherence. The reason why is just so that way I can build my ultimate a little faster than normal and just put the last point into Quantum. Or not Quantum, it's the cooldown. But yeah, you don't have to go with these two. You don't have to put Temporal Coherence and Quantum. And if you wanted to, you can still go the exact same route and go the cooldown there, and then an extra ability power, your ability power here, if you wanted to do that, if you felt like you don't really want your ultimate up that much faster. It does build up quicker, which is nice. And having your ultimate up means because Kyros still technically has the strongest ultimate in the game, even though it was like nerfed pretty heavily because of the Siphon Radiant. His ultimate is still very strong, and if you do go with the Arcane Fragment ultimate variation, then having this is also going to be very, very nice because you're going to spawn out more like arcane fragments for yourself or siphon orbs, whatever they're called. But anyways, that was it for Kyros. Now we're going to go ahead and go on to Venomess. Alright, so now with Venomous, as you can see, again, I'm using Rose and Thorn. So that's going to be, there's no reason for me to really explain that, why I'm using that. But my Venomous, I really like how I have her set up. As you can see, the stats I have set up, I'm focused primarily on her crits. So she has basically almost around 10k ability power. It rounds up a little bit when certain things proc. So obviously ability power will shoot up even higher than that. But then I have my crit rating at 10.3 and crit power at 10.2, and my weapon power is at 3.4. So her weapon crits can still hit pretty decent, but her poison ticks hits a lot harder. Now you can kind of flip flop between ability power or weapon power depending on your echoes and how you want to situate that. But realistically, you want to shoot for around the triple tens. So crit power, crit rate, and either ability or weapon power reaching 10k. And if you do go with weapon power, the weapon I would highly recommend is going to be the Wind Mother's Fang. Just because this is the strongest weapon power weapon in the game. There's just nothing competing with it when it comes to just raw weapon power. But when it comes to ability power, it's kind of up to you because for the most part, I mean, I enjoy the daggers on her. There are the other daggers, I don't think I have them. Not the Maiden's Rhyme. Oh, right here, the Venom. Venom is pretty okay. I didn't really like it too much. I still like the Rose and Thorn because it just inflicts more damage when you do proc its skill, and then also like the stat lineup on Rose and Thorn as well. Maiden's Rhyme is pretty okay, but it's still not that great. But anyways, the armor set I have on her. So I'm using, where is it? I don't have. So I'm using the green helmet because it gives crit rating. Uh, where is it? 4% crit rating. This gives 3.33. So that's kind of weird, but it gives a lot more physical defense. But I just said, you know what, I want the most amount of crit rating I can get, so I'm going to use this, the green helmet. But I'm sure if Bloodseeker or Moonfallen, Vagabond, or Sky Havoc have crit rating, it's going to be a lot higher. So I would recommend that instead, but I've never found one yet. And then my Vandal Heart, I have ability power on it, ability power, crit power on the Vandal Heart backpack, and then Vagabond gloves with crit power, break power, and Vandal Heart garb has crit rating, weapon power. So it's kind of like not all over the place, but it seems like it is. But that's because, again, I'm just trying to focus on my crit rating, crit power, and ability power. Obviously, if you wanted to focus on weapon power, you go weapon power. So yeah, you just basically fit the armor set that works with how you can get your stats to reach these certain points. And for the accessories I'm using, I have the Wayfarer's Creed set. So it has Amulet of Unpredictability, Circlet of Unpredictability, and Ring of Unpredictability. And the reason I'm using this is just for the crits, the crit rating and crit power, as well as having it pretty much all three sets almost have the stats I need. So it has crit power, crit rating for the ring. I don't care for the physical defense too much. The circlet has crit rating, which is nice, and it has weapon power instead of ability power, which is a little unfortunate, but it's still fine with a physical defense. And then, like, the circlet's probably the worst one out of all of them. The Amulet of Unpredictability, which is the best slot, has crit rating, ability power, and crit power because those are the three stats you need for this build. Now, technically, if you could get all three with crit rate and crit power, ability power. Pretty sure I've tested this before, and it was not better than having the set bonus because it's a just 10% increase to these stats. Um, but if you could just go with crit rate and crit power and ability power on all three, that's fine as well. You should still be able to hit roughly around 10k maybe on all three, I believe. Um, Next is the affinity. I went 16 in instinct, 0 in discipline, and 25 focus. The reason why you want 16 in instinct and not the 25 is because, I mean, the 25 is nice, but you don't, again, you don't need it. And I'm not a fan of um, kill perks where you have to kill an enemy for something to happen. So that's basically what this is. Once an enemy dies with at least 3 poison stacks, they erupt and then poison cloud spawns, and it can only happen once every 6 seconds. I'm not a fan of that. So it seems like it might be pretty good, but I don't care for it. But having this is nice because the poison eruption from Master of Venoms now deals small amounts of damage in a small area. So it's a nice AoE damage increase, and we love AoE. And then obviously this is going to be important to have because it's a 5% damage increase to all of your DOTs. Now, all three of these are important to because you get a 10% crit chance increase. It's not just a crit rating. Your crit rating isn't going to increase by 10%. Your base crit chance increases by 10%. Right, so that's if you're at 10% crit chance, now you're at 20% just because of this if you attack a poison target. And then critical toxin, critical hits against a poisoned enemy will leave a poison cloud in the area, and this effect can occur once every 6 seconds. Very good, because when you just critical hit once, and then enemies around you are going to be poisoned, which allows you to have more crits against them. And then lethal toxin gives you 10% crit damage against poisoned targets. So again, very important to have all three of these if you want to deal as much damage as possible. If you want to be a healer for your friend group, then I guess you could just go discipline. Now, for your talents, again, this is... did I skip abilities? I think I did. Abilities, I'll just go with this quick. You want to have 3 in Vampiric Blast. Important because it heals and big damage. Transfusion, big damage. You want to have the extra 2 homing needles, and it applies damage over time. Venom Thrusters, you only just want the level 1. You don't care for these 2. The damage reduction for 3 seconds for 50% is nice, but you don't need it. Just dodge, or parry, block, whatever. This doesn't matter. You don't need to slow enemies down, and bosses can't be slowed down. This is the... could be okay, I guess, if you decide to go for like a healer type of build, and then you max to level 3, you can get your ultimate faster, and you can heal people, but I personally don't care for it. So the way you do it is you would just... you would shoot your transfusion out, and then you would just Venom Thruster through, turn around, throw your Vampiric Blast on the Venom Thruster's Poison Cloud, and then watch it go boom. Now for your talents, you're going to go all the way up, get Opportunism, and then go down just to collect these 3, and then go all the way over here to collect the Prowess node, because you want to have an extra attack node. Next, you're going to go all the way down to get Deadly Insight, so you can get the Exposed Weakness, so that, or your Exposed Weakness is now stronger, making enemies 5% more vulnerable, and I believe Exposed Weakness, what is it, right here, 10%? Yeah, it's a 10% multiplier, so now it's a 15% multiplier, which makes this also very important for damage increase, not just for yourself, but for your group in general. If you're playing in a group, but then you're going to go down, and then you can get counterplay if you wanted. You don't need to go for this at all. Like, it's just an option. It's not mandatory, right? And then but yeah, it's because you would have 4 points left, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's pretty much nothing else you can go for. You could go for this, I guess. You could go for force feedback instead of going for this. So you'd go 1, 2, 3, 4 for force feedback, so you can get your ultimate back faster. But again, your ultimate, Venomess's ultimate, doesn't really matter too much. You don't need really any of these, because especially careful strikes, it sounds like it's going to be okay, but you got to reread it. Crit rating is increased by 50%. That's not good. Okay? Even, like, you have 10,000 crit rating, 50% of that is only going to increase it by 5,000. So you're going to be at 15,000 crit rating. It's not enough to like justify losing 30 or losing 20 or 12%, or not 12%, 17% base critical damage, right? Because that's what that is. You're losing 17% because you get a base crit damage increase of 50%, and you're lowering it down to 33% just so you can have a 50% increase in crit rating. It's not. I'm telling you right now, it is not worth doing that at all, because crit power is not the same as crit damage percent. Crit power is like a variation of your crit damage percentage. It's like a, I don't know the exact amount you get for your crit damage increase, but I can tell you right now, and you would need to invest like another 10,000 crit power, or not 10,000, maybe another 5,000 crit power, just to get back to where you were with base crit your base crit power, because your crit power is basically like an additive or something, additive or multiplicative version of your base crit power. So it's just not worth going for this. Like, you're gonna notice a drastic damage difference having careful strikes and not having it. Red Feast was pretty nice to have, um, because it's just a lot of healing, but Venomess kind of doesn't really need it. You already heal quite a lot anyway, so that's why I don't think it's worth having this. So you're just gonna go all the way up and get tactics. Again, you don't have to go with counterplay. I just went with this because I just had extra points. Um, but if you don't want to go for counterplay, just get rid of these 4 points and then invest it into force feedback, or I guess one, two, yeah, that would probably be your only option. One, two, three, four. Yeah, that would be your only option, I guess. Or you can go here, one, two, three, four, I guess. But yeah, that's Venomous. Now we're gonna go ahead and go to the next character. All right, we've got Wingrave. So I tried to make Wingrave a little like supporty, but can still clear solo, like with ease, and he can with this particular setup that I have. And it's mainly because when Mother's Fang is carrying, no matter what you do, when Mother's Fang will always carry. But I, because the abilities he has, his healing, I believe, still scales off of ability power. I think it used to scale off of health, but now it's ability power, or maybe it's still health. I don't really remember. Um, but yeah, and the other thing is having ability power. They made it to where with your weapon skills, you need both weapon power and ability power, which I personally I don't like that. I think it should just only be weapon power, and then the Wayfinder's abilities are ability power. That would just make it a lot better overall instead of investing in two. But it is what it is. But yeah, I like kind of more focused on my weapon power damage output, but I was also trying to focus a bit more on physical and magic defense. Um, I think having a solid amount of resilience is also going to be useful to have. Obviously, like, I'm not like super min-maxed on my Wingrave. I was still doing a lot of testing, and I remember I was asking one of the people that main Wingrave in the Discord to post the build, or post the TTK of their builds on some of the bosses, but I don't think I ever heard back. So I kind of just did my own little experiments with him. Anyways, armor sets, and also, like I said, this is not the best Wingrave build. It's just there. Like, I'm kind of already finished with him. Yeah, I'm content with how he is. But I have the Biohazard helmet, which has weapon power and crit rating. Biohazard base. Well, I think I could just go with Storm's End, to be honest. Has crit rating and health. Yeah, we'll do that instead. And I'm like debating on whether I want to lose the weapon power or nah. I like the biohazard gloves. So yeah, my bad. We got the Storms End base chest, max health crit rating, and then Storm End's pauldrons, physical defense and resilience. Or you could go with biohazard pauldrons, but again, I think having some resilience is good. Um, but yeah, if you want, if you want to have more ability power, then go with that. If you want to have more weapon power, go with these. Biohazard gloves, ability power, weapon power. It's kind of, it feels like it's a no-brainer for that. And then Storms and Sash, weapon power, break power. Yeah, so I don't really know what I want to do with that specifically. Maybe I go for. Dang, it's kind of a tough decision. Do I lose the resilience? Yeah, whatever. I'll just do that. I'm gonna put the light bearer pauldrons because I like the health being over 3,000 and then the weapon power being at almost 12k, which is nice. Next weapon, Wind Mother's Fang. Again, is just such a broken weapon to have. And then we're gonna go ahead and look at the accessories. So my accessories, I'm using the Myth of the Star set, Celestial Ring, Sacrifice of the Aegis, and Celestial Amulets. With this, it gives crit rating, ability power, and crit power. So this way I can kind of counterbalance my ability power loss because I'm not getting as much ability power as I'd like. Obviously, I would like more weapon power, but I want to make sure I have a good amount of ability power so I can do a little bit more healing and more damage with my weapon and my abilities. And then Celestial Ring comes with crit power, ability power, crit rating, very nice. Celestial Amulet comes with ability power, crit rating, physical defense, also nice. Sacrifice of the Aegis, crit power, crit rating, magic, max health, not too bad. Now, my crit rating is at 6.8k, almost 6.9k, and then my crit power is almost 2k. It's pretty low on the crit power, pretty good on the crit rating. Accessories, echoes. As you can see, because I'm no stars on Wingrave, I don't have many echo slots. But I have everything I think is fairly important. So I have the Gold Mite, which increases my physical defense. The more and I'm pretty sure with Wingrave, Grendel, and I forgot her name, whatever her name is, the buff chick. Pretty sure when you have, it's like the same as Nyss and Kyros, where they have more magic defense, they get more ability power. Well, with them, they get more physical defense, they get more weapon power. But yeah, so I went Gold Mites, Hollow Horror, Mythic Valor, the Trapper, Hobgoblin, and Mythic Alturak the Deathless. This is also very nice to have because I am spec'd for weapon power, so my damage is going to do a lot with this as well. And it's a nice little, like, it seems like it's just a single target. Pretty sure it's a single target, but I think when there's a clump, it hits all of them as well. Bloodletter, weapon power, break power, Warbear, Shroud Stalker, Calvul, and Malefic Maw. Husk, Codex Sage, Mythic Truth, which is ability power crit rating, Deceiver, ability power magic defense, Balgrim Digger, max health and physical defense, and then Arclight Guardian, weapon power crit power. So again, because I'm running things that have ability power, just so I can kind of like counterbalance. Otherwise, I would just go all in on weapon power, but then my ability power would kind of lower. Affinity, I went 15, 15, 6. So that way I get healing favor. So if I do play in a group, I'm able to heal them and for 10% or an additional 10%. Oh, it is of my max health over 8 seconds. So yeah, having more health means you heal more, which is pretty good. And then you have Crusader's Blessings and Crusader's Finesse, also very good. We like cooldown reductions and focus damage ward. The damage you take is reduced by 10%. Not just you, but recipients, anyone that's affected by healing pulse for 8 seconds reduces the damage they take by 10%. Damage surge is going to be nice to have though, so I guess if you don't really want to play quote unquote healer with this, then you can go damage surge, so you can have the weapon power increased by 5%. Um, and damage charging, I guess, could be useful too if you want to proc your ultimate more. He does have a nice ultimate too. It's a nice giant bubble shield. Now for my talents, I went pretty much all in on the left side. So I didn't go for the vengeance slot though, or the heroism. I was debating on it, but I just decided to keep what I have. Went all the way down for unstoppable for more weapon power ability or weapon ability. For the heat of the battle increase, because that's the heat of the battle is like your combo generator thing. It's the thing that tells you the percentage of damage you're going to be doing, um, or increased by based off of how many hits you're applying to the enemy. So if you'll see it on the left side of your screen basically. It's your combo meter. And then you have your ways of war. So my weapon abilities charge 15% faster, which is very important for the Wind Mother's Fang. And then presence of wind is mind is pretty nice because again you are focused on your ability powers as well. So being able to have this stacked up when you do hit enemies with your weapon, you get ability power increase, which increases the ability power of your skills. And then I have the 3 into the triangle, and then I go here, go around, and then boop, and get Grim Devotion. It's very strong because you get your weapon power is equal to 20% of your max health. So if you do have more max health, you do get a little bit more weapon power. But again, like it really depends on how your echoes are set up. Oops. And yeah, that's pretty much how I have my Wingrave set up. I haven't really had any issues. Like we don't have hard enough content to have issues, so in a sense you can kind of build your Wingrave however you see fit. You can make him tanky, support, or very DPS like. You can focus heavily on weapon power if you wanted to as well. Now we're going to go ahead and go to the next character. Alright, next up we have Senja, the big buff woman that I completely forgot about. Anyways, her, like you can see, I have her pretty much focused purely on weapon power and some crits, and then mainly like break power and physical defense. Also, just in case you guys didn't know, I don't remember exactly where the option was to see that ability power and weapon power is affected, but I'll just show you like real quick on a test that physical power does, or physical defense does affect her weapon power. Like she's at 17,222 weapon power, and if I switch it out for like let's just say magic defense, right? I'll just put in magic defense. It doesn't have red or green, but watch the number, it goes down. So just letting you know that there is proof that it works like that. Um, but yeah, I just could for some reason I can't find exactly where the specification was. I don't know why the devs are hiding it somewhere, but that's how it works. Like you lose weapon power if you lose physical defense, and your other characters will lose ability power if you lose magic defense. Anyways, back to Senja. The armor set I'm going with her. I have 3 pieces of the Predator sets on, so it has max health, weapon power, max health, break power, weapon power, physical defense, and then the Valkyr set has weapon power, physical defense, weapon power, resilience. I would like to have a different chest piece that has weapon power somewhere, but I don't think any of the ones that I currently have do not have it. Yeah, none of the ones I have it, but I would assume if another one of these armor sets have weapon power, go for that. You want to have you just want to push as much weapon power as you can with her. So the set I'm using for her is a mix. Like I have 2 pieces of codex set. So the reason why I decided not to push the full set is because I was testing the numbers and I was just doing better with the circlet of unpredictability because it came with physical defense, weapon power, and crit rating. Where the other 2 pieces I have, I mean, the first stage and the first oath were still pretty decent in terms of giving me more weapon power, break power, and crit rating. Um, Honestly, the first oath is not the most ideal item to have because it doesn't have any weapon power anywhere, which is a pretty big loss. But it's still a pretty decent set to have, and obviously, like, there's probably going to be better sets out there that's going to be good for Senja. And then, obviously, Wind Mother's Fang is going to be your, again, your bread and butter for weapon power builds, especially because you can do something like this, which, if my game loads real quick, there, you can just do that. It's a quick lunge. And while you're doing this, it builds up your weapon ability. So you can just do this the whole time, and like it's just a lot of damage output. All you do is just light attack, block, light attack, block, and that's all you do. I mean, obviously you can mix it with however you want, doing heavies and stuff, playing like normal, but that's that's pretty much what you need. All you need to do with a weapon power build, just light attack, block, light attack, block. Gotta make sure you can see the attack actually animate though. Now for my echoes, I have as much weapon power as I can get. I don't know where my why this dropped down, but it is what it is. Oh, I think it's probably because of whatever I did when I was pretending to attack. But yeah, I'm using a Hall of Horror, Bloodletter, Mythic Valor, Husk, Hobgoblin, Magma Blaster, and the Mythic Autorek, the Deathless. Because again, I have a lot of physical damage, weapon power, so that's going to be very useful. Riven Maw, Warbear, Frost Hunter, Arclight Guardian, and then the Mythic, the Argent Hand. There's Brood Hopper, Goldmite, Wolf. I definitely need to get a stronger Wolf. The Trapper, Balgrin Digger, and the Root. So everything I have is basically catering towards my weapon power. Abilities, gain favor, maxed out, because it's just nice to have this one maxed out because you're gonna want to proc this pretty much anytime or before you get into combat because you're not just increasing your own weapon and ability powers, but you're increasing your allies' weapons and ability power as well. And then I have 1 point into Gladiator Pummel. The other 2 points don't really matter too much. Level 3 could be pretty good because it's a weapon power type damage. It's increased by 50%, but I don't think that matters too much. You just want this because your next weapon attack within 5 seconds of dealing bonus ability damage, or yeah, whenever you hit the enemy with the Gladiator Pummel, your weapon attack is going to do more damage. It doesn't specify how much more damage, but you're going to do more damage within the next 5 seconds. And then Lightning Grasp. This is very important, having it maxed out. It's not just for the pool and the radius, but it's for that 30% multiplier or multiplicative damage increase for the next 6 seconds. So basically what I do is I will use Showboat and try to max this out as much as you can so you can get the damage buff, and then I will just spam light block, light block, light block, and then once my weapon ability is ready to be used, I'll use Gladiator Pummel into Lightning Grasp or Lightning Grasp into Gladiator Pummel. It doesn't really matter what you do. Or yeah, no, Lightning Grasp into Gladiator Pummel, and then hit your weapon ability skill, and then you're just gonna chunk the enemies or bosses. Obviously, you're gonna end up killing the enemies, like the mobs, the first swing. Um, but the bosses itself will die or take a lot of damage. And for my affinity, I have 6 points into Instinct, 25 in Discipline, 5 in Focus. Um, I don't have Senja maxed out on her stars, so I'm not gonna get the extra 5 points anywhere until I do that. But if I do that, I don't remember what I was gonna do. I think I was gonna go into this. Yeah, I was gonna go into Instinct, so I would have taken the points out of Focus and put 15 points into instinct, 25 into discipline, and then the last 1 point you can go instinct or focus. But yeah, if you have Senja to 4 stars or 5 stars, you want crowd's empowerment. But you, no matter what, you want to have discipline maxed out. And then my talent tree for Senja, it's gonna look almost similar to Wingrave, but it's not because I'm not focused on my abilities, so I don't go for this. So Senja and Grendel are gonna actually look pretty identical, I think. You're gonna go all the way here, collect Unstoppable, go around, collect the 3 nodes, go up to Vengeance, and then you're also gonna cut in and get the Grim Devotion, the Devotion, and then once you go up here, you're gonna collect Way of the War or Way of War, Ways of War, because again, weapon abilities charging 15% faster is important for this build particularly. You're gonna go down, collect these 3 nodes because that's gonna be also a big damage increase, or stat increase, and then you're gonna have 2 points left over. So you just want to put 1 point here for the 108 weapon power, and then another point here for another 108 weapon power. And that is it for Senja. Now let's do the last character, which is going to be Grendel. Alright, so with Grendel, you're going to notice he's a little similar to Senja. He has a little, like quite a lot less weapon power than Senja. He's by 2000, but he has a little bit more ability power, which isn't really ideal for the build that I have for him. I know there are people that are making that have an ability power build for him to like for constant spins. I've tried it and I just did not like it. But I definitely prefer this setup that I have for him because I focus on weapon power and break power. Having him being break focused is so nice to have if you're in a team setting, even solo setting, because when you break the enemy's resilience bar very fast, then you can start doing true damage instead of like partial damage. Because I call it partial damage because the resilience of the enemies take like it's like a damage reduction. It's like armor, and if you have high enough break, you're just gonna break the resilience bar, stripping their armor off of them and just hitting them for real damage and not just partial damage. So yeah, it's nice to do that. Obviously my crit power is very low as well, but it's pretty much non-existent. Crit rating is okay. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and look at the armor sets. So I have a Maze War Veteran helmet, Maze War Veteran chest, and then the 3 bone saw pieces, bone saw shoulders, bone saw gloves, and bone saw chest. So I'm pretty sure I tried it out going for, well, I guess I could technically do this, the Night War gloves, so I can get more break power and weapon power. Yeah, I don't know why I don't just do that actually. And I could just do this, lose some crit rating and weapon ability power. I think this is fine, having almost 18k weapon power. I don't know, I'm kind of conflicted with losing the crit rating too though. Anyways, you can kind of play around with it yourself as well, because again, this is not my min-maxed character. As you can see, I only have him at 1 star. Anyways, the accessories I have for him, I have 2 pieces of mutated flora, and then I have the briar hilt on him. I think that's because I didn't find the ring of mandrake, or maybe this is a while ago, so I don't exactly remember the reason why I didn't go with the 3-piece set. Maybe I just didn't like the mandrake ring stats on it, because the briar hilt has really good stats on it as well. But the stats on the set bonus is also very nice, with having total weapon power, crit power, and physical defense. The crit power doesn't really matter too much, but the physical defense and the weapon power are also very good. Now, the Briar Hilt has crit rating, break power, weapon power. Basically all 3 stats you need on him. And then the Bracer of Birth and Decay, weapon power, good, ability powers, whatever, physical defense, whatever. Weapon power, good on the Overgrowth Necklace, Physical defense is okay. I mean, regardless, more physical defense means more damage, and obviously more physical defense. And then resilience. Resilience is also very important to have. I feel like regardless, because the higher your resilience bar is, the less you'll get staggered, and if your resilience breaks, then you take true damage as well. So the higher your resilience bar is with your physical and magic defense, then the more hits you can kind of take in. And now, next for my echoes, it's so sad to see only this many echoes, I'm not gonna lie. But it is what it is. I have Magma Blaster, Hollow Horror, Mythic Valor, Blood Warden, Hobgoblin, and Mythic Attrek of the Deathless. And then my Wingrave has Bloodletter, Shrike Skirmisher, or Skirmisher, Frost Hunter, Arclight Guardian, and Mythic Argent Hand. The hilt has Pridebound Stomper, and the Root, the Trapper, Brood, Brood Hopper, and then Warbear and Brood Hunter. So again, it's very weapon power centric. More weapon power equals more damage, especially when you're using the Wingrave or Windmother's Fang. My affinity setup. So I think I was trying to push for Instinct being maxed, or no. I don't, yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I don't really like any of these. This is the only thing I like that's at the third tier, actually. But then again, I don't know. I don't remember what I was going for this setup, to be honest. But, you know, we'll look at this. If you break an enemy while in Blood Rage, gain 1 stack of anger. This is good. Yeah, so this is why, yeah, going for 15 on Instinct is good. Discipline, increase weapon damage, this is good while in Blood Rage. And then Grendel regenerates, yeah, this is good too, because you have no other source of healing. So it's nice when you do, especially because you have high breaks, you're going to be able to heal pretty consistently with that. This doesn't really matter because you're not using abilities. You are using abilities, but you're not limiting yourself to using only abilities to do damage. You're not relying on your abilities for damage. And then this is nice because you're while in Blood Rage, you deal 10% increased break damage. Good because you want more. If you can break the armor or the resilience of the boss faster, that's more damage. Abilities, 0 in Whirlwind, but there is this neat little trick you can do as well. Well, it's actually no, never mind. It's not. It's not a trick. It's a trick in the talent tree, which I'll explain a little bit. But 0 points of Whirlwind. Again, I've tried my best to make a Whirlwind build, and I just did not like it. Berserker Frenzy. I have 1 point into this because I want the weapon damage increase while in Berserker Frenzy. Mighty Leap is very good to have 2 leaps. It's just, I mean, you can technically just do 1 leap, but it is so fun. Plus, the damage sustainability you can have from this is also good. And not the damage, but the break damage, because instead of it being a 15%, think of it as 30% break damage. Um, so, yeah. And then you have Tremor, which is also very good. It's really not just strong for break damage, but it's also because you do more damage against enemies that are affected by Tremor. Again, they don't specify how much, but you will notice a massive damage increase against those enemies. Oops. And then for my talent tree, so what I was talking about, like a little trick with Whirlwind, was Rallying Cry. When you put points into Rallying Cry, you could just spam your Whirlwind and you get healed. You can consecutively get healed from it. I don't think it's really worth it. You kind of like, it's whatever, but it's a little bit of heals. But yeah, it's a neat little trick if you wanted to do that instead. Um, but yeah, so I went straight down and got Unstoppable, which is good. And then I went to get Vengeance. I think I went for most of the cooldowns perks or nodes Yeah, I went for most of the cooldown. I think I went for all of the cooldown notes actually. Yeah. So I got the vengeance or the cooldown here, and then I went up around and grabbed this one here because I was avoiding the stamina, and then I just went here, grabbed these four, and then got up here. Boom, boom. Obviously, you want Waves of War because weapon abilities charging faster is good. And then I go here, and this, I mean, I don't really care for this too much, but I went down, grabbed these three, and then it went down and grabbed the last ability cooldown node. So you can see there are no more, well, there is one all the way over here as well, but that's kind of a ways away to get. But I think there's just two left that I was unable to get, which is okay. I mean, it's an 8% loss in cooldown, but I mean, I'm getting a 34% cooldown reduction in general, so that's good. And yeah, that's pretty much it with this video. Honestly, like it was probably a lot longer than I anticipated it to be. I know you guys are probably gonna be mad about not seeing the gameplay, but again, you just gotta you gotta trust me. Like I do not. I don't think you would want to see, or maybe you do want to see gameplay, honestly. But anyways, maybe I'll post some gameplay footage of each class or each Wayfinder, but this is just strictly a build video for every single one, all into one big video. So this is probably going to be like a 40-minute, 50-minute video. But again, I am going to put timestamps because it's going to be quite a long video. I haven't made any videos. I've said videos so many times. I haven't made much content in general in a while. So, because I'm always on and off, and again, life happens, work, etc., etc. So I'll just try to post what I can when I can, however I can. But anyways, that's pretty much it. You know, hopefully this helped you guys out. And if there is another update for Wayfinder, maybe I will hop on it and post for you guys. I'm still playing the game, just more so casually. I'll just hop into random sessions, help people out, and then log off. But yeah, hopefully this helped you guys out. If it did, go ahead and leave a like, comment, subscribe, share it, and yada yada yada. Anyways, this is all day one. Have a good day, good night, and peace.